appropriately insensitive. Welcome, my friends, to another live video. This is Troy Stone King. Thank you so much for watching. The title of this video is Appropriately Insensitive. Some time ago, I worked with a person. Let's call this person Spence. Spence did his job, but if you spent very much time working with Spence, you realize something about Spence. Spence was never wrong. Spence could not admit to being wrong. Spence would be defensive if it appeared that Spence was wrong. Spence would always prove his own correctness, would always have to be right. Now, if you didn't work with Spence for a long time, or if you didn't pay a lot of attention to Spence, you would just write him off as an arrogant jerk. However, if you listened carefully to Spence over time, if you heard how he responded to other people, if you heard how he talked about situation in his life, you'd realize that Spence wasn't really an arrogant jerk just because he was an arrogant jerk. See, Spence has a deeper issue. Spence's deeper issue is this. Spence has low self-esteem. And Spence manifests that low self-esteem by the defensive need to always be right. And working with Spence over time, here's a few things that would happen. And this would be very telling for the low self-esteem in relation to Spence. If you were in a situation with Spence, and suddenly it appeared that maybe things weren't going Spence's way, Spence would go off the handle. Now, from everybody else's point of view, there was nothing going on that was at all emotional. But Spence would go off the handle. Or the opposite would happen. Spence would just shut everyone down and not talk to anybody. You see, Spence thought that no matter what was happening around him, somehow everyone was against him. Spence looked at the world through the kind of vision that says, it's me and everybody's against me, and no matter what happens, I've got to defend myself. This was Spence's point of view. Spence took the self-esteem, the low self-esteem that he had, and used it, manifested it as a self-defense and a need to always be right. The title of this video is Appropriately Insensitive. Now, let me get a little bit deeper into this. How do you work with Spence? What if Spence is your coworker? What if Spence is a friend? What if Spence is someone in your family? But here's the big question. What if Spence is you? Let me ask you a question. Do you often find yourself on the defensive and no one understands why? Do you find yourself feeling like everybody around you is a jerk and you'd rather just keep to yourself and not talk to them? Or do you find yourself exploding and then later going, what was that all about? I don't really understand. If you've got those kinds of reactions, then it's possible that you're dealing with what Spence did, an issue related to low self-esteem that manifests itself as exploding or shutting down or the need to always be right or some combination of the three. So how do you work with Spence? Or what if Spence is in your family? Or what if you are Spence? How do you handle this? If Spence is another person, so if you're comfortable with with being wrong at times, and if you don't explode inappropriately, if Spence is another person, first of all, speak to Spence in a kind way. There's a phrase in the New Testament of the Bible, and the phrase goes like this: speak the truth in love. In other words, when you're trying to work with someone or help someone and they're not happy, they're angry, then you need to use kindness. You need to give them some grace. And as you move further along this path, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to respond well or they're going to respond poorly. they're going to start to see that maybe you're on their side. Maybe there's someone who pays attention to them and listens to them. And if you spend enough time sharing kindly with this person, helping them to understand that not the whole world's not against them, then perhaps they'll start to slowly change. Now, you cannot, as a general rule, directly change someone who is opposed to change. But you can, with kindness, help their spirit to open up, help their vision to change, help their perspective to become more open. Now, some people have been closed off for a long, long time. And they don't want to change at all. And they will actively resist attempts for change. What do you do in those situations? There comes a point, my friends, when someone has decided that they don't want to be better. They don't want to be kinder. They think they're always right, and they're just going to stick with that point of view. And they believe the whole world is against them. There comes a point in those situations where you just have to say, hey, listen, I care about you. I want you to have a better life. I want you to be happier. But I can't do anything for you if you don't want to change. I can't do anything for you if you don't want to be happier, if you don't want to enjoy life more. Remember, this video is called Appropriately Insensitive, because at that point, from Spence's point of view, you've moved away from this person who's trying to be nice and maybe they're okay, but I'm not sure, so I don't trust them, to maybe you're kind of a jerk just like everybody else, and you're writing me off. Listen to me very carefully at this point. You can only do your best to share kindness and love to another person. You cannot make that person accept it. You can't. Now, I'm not saying never stop. I'm not saying stop trying. I'm saying you can't make them accept it. There comes also another point where your own mental health could be negatively affected by spending too much time with Spence. When that happens, you got to back off with how often you're with Spence. You've got to move away from spending time with Spence. Hear me. You cannot let yourself be dragged down by someone who's decided that they're going to stay in that negative place and not want any kind of change. Sometimes you got to let people go. Now, let me kind of bring this back around. You're being a little bit, just a little bit insensitive from their point of view when you say, hey, if you don't want to feel better, I can't help you. But if you say it in love, and then every time you see them, you're still kind and you're still gracious, then you've done what you can do. If you're a person of faith, then pray for this person. Pray that their heart will soften. But don't let your own kindness and grace be ruined by their poor attitude, because it's a choice that they make. It's a choice that they make. I hope this was helpful for you. It is not necessarily the easiest topic. And before I wrap it up completely, remember, maybe you're Spence. Because at times I've been Spence. I've been the person who thought that everything was against me. And I've been the person who always needed to be right. And I was able to change through a combination of my faith and other people caring for me and showing me grace and love. So don't give up. But don't be ruined by someone else's choice to be in that place. Thank you again, my friends, for taking the time to watch. I appreciate it very much. If those of you who came on just in the past 3 minutes or so, when I'm done with this video, about 30 to 60 seconds after I'm done, it will go back up and you can start from the beginning and you can catch the replay. So appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. All my videos find my way over to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Troy Stoneking. Also, don't forget, working on a course right now on how to ask for and likely get a raise at your job, better maybe than a raise you've ever gotten in your life. I've gotten some fantastic raises using these exact techniques at all kinds of places over many, many years. If you've got any interest in that, no obligation, send me an email, live, L-I-V-E, at troystoneking.com. I'll put you on the list of people who get the details when it's about to be released. But remember, no obligation there. So thank you. Have a great day. About 30 to 60 seconds after this video is over, it will be back on Facebook for you to start from the beginning. Catch you later.